He painted the most famous face in the world, but behind that calm smile and piercing gaze lies something more, something Leonardo da Vinci never meant for everyone to see. He wasn't just an artist, he was a scientist, engineer, anatomist, philosopher, a man centuries ahead of his time. And yet, he wrote almost nothing in plain language. Everything, his notes, his thoughts, his discoveries, was locked behind code. Why? Leonardo da Vinci was born in 1452 in Vinci, Italy, an illegitimate child, denied formal education, but gifted with an insatiable curiosity. While others followed the Church's teachings without question, Leonardo questioned everything. He dissected corpses in secret. He drew flying machines while the Inquisition still burned heretics. He imagined weapons that could annihilate armies and machines that could lift men into the air. But he also lived in a world where knowledge could be dangerous. A single wrong idea, a single page misread, could cost your life. So Leonardo protected himself. He filled thousands of pages of notebooks with sketches and observations written in mirror script, backward from right to left, legible only when held to a mirror. To some, it looked like code. To him, it was safety. He wasn't hiding from fame. He was hiding from a world that wasn't ready for what he knew. Leonardo didn't just use secrecy in his writing, he wove it into his art. Every painting, every line, every composition seems to hold more than what it shows. Take the Mona Lisa. People see beauty, serenity, mystery. But Leonardo called it simply La Gioconda, a portrait of a merchant's wife. Still, look closer, and you'll find microscopic details, initials hidden in her eyes, faint outlines beneath the paint, layers of glazes so thin they blur the boundary between shadow and soul. He wasn't just painting a face, he was exploring how perception works, how light defines reality. Then there's The Last Supper, a painting so studied, so obsessed over, that it spawned centuries of theories. Some say it hides messages, the absence of halos, the strange positioning of hands, the V-shape between Jesus and John. But strip away the myths, and what remains is still remarkable. Leonardo used mathematics, geometry, and human emotion to craft a narrative that speaks in silence. Every gesture is deliberate, every face a question. He painted not miracles, but humanity. In a world ruled by religion, that alone was a quiet act of rebellion. The real Da Vinci Code wasn't a secret message hidden in paint. It was knowledge disguised as art. Leonardo's notebooks, the Codex Atlanticus, the Codex Leicester, the Codex Arundel, read like the mind of a man from the future. Inside them, sketches of helicopters, diving suits, armored tanks, solar energy experiments, and studies of fluid dynamics so accurate that modern engineers still reference them. But these weren't just daydreams. They were coded visions, ideas written in fragmented notes, mirrored lines and scattered diagrams, impossible to piece together unless you understood how his mind worked. He wasn't trying to mystify others. He was protecting himself and his discoveries from being used or destroyed, because Leonardo worked for everyone and no one. He built war machines for dukes, studied anatomy in hospitals, and painted for popes. He served power, but trusted no authority. He once wrote, "I have offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality it should have." That wasn't modesty, that was fear, and the fear that his ideas could be twisted or lost. So he left clues, not to uncover treasure, but to protect truth. Centuries after his death, Leonardo's name became legend and mystery. When his notebooks resurfaced, people were stunned by how modern they felt. And where mystery lives, myth follows. Writers and conspiracy theorists turned his genius into legend. claims of secret societies, coded messages in paintings, bloodlines of Christ, and hidden truths the Church covered up. It's a thrilling story, but none of it has historical foundation. Leonardo wasn't a prophet of forbidden religion. He was a man of reason in an age of superstition. His so-called codes weren't divine secrets. They were defenses, because knowledge was his faith and observation his gospel. He studied how light struck the eye, how muscles pulled the body, how wind curved around wings. For him, understanding nature was understanding God, not through miracles but through mechanics. That was the real heresy. Not that he hid messages, but that he believed truth could be found by looking, measuring, thinking. So what did Leonardo really keep hidden? Not a sacred bloodline or secret order, but a truth far more subversive, that the world could be understood without superstition. That knowledge could exist outside religion, that a man, not a god, could touch eternity with his mind alone. That's why his notebooks were scattered across Europe after his death. That's why many of his inventions disappeared for centuries. The Church and his patrons admired his art, but feared his mind. He once wrote, "Learning never exhausts the mind," but he also wrote, "The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions." He knew knowledge was dangerous in the wrong hands and fragile in the right ones. So Leonardo left his greatest code unsolved: how to be free to think, to create, to question in a world that punishes curiosity. When you look at a Leonardo painting today, the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, the Vitruvian Man, you're not just looking at art. You're looking at encrypted philosophy. Every line, every proportion, every shadow is an equation about life itself. His true code wasn't about religion, it was about seeing, because Leonardo believed that truth hides in the details, in the curve of a smile, the ripple of water, the anatomy of flight. He didn't want followers. He wanted observers. The Da Vinci Code wasn't meant to be solved. It was meant to awaken the part of you that questions. So if you really want to unlock Leonardo's secret, you don't need a cipher. You just need curiosity, the kind that never stops asking why. Because that's what Leonardo didn't want you to forget. That truth isn't given, it's discovered.